So today, Diane and I'm Karen, it's Diane, we are talking about fear. And there are so many aspects of fear and how that comes in for us. What do we do with it? How we move through it? What holds us back? There's so many things about fear. Like just bringing that up, Diane, do you have I'm just talking about it. My heart's starting to engage. What comes up for you when I say, are you in fear? Like, would you go in your body? Do you feel like, oh, I have to think about it? Or you're like, oh, this is a whole emotional aspect for you? Does it bring up spiritual aspects for you? Where are you at with fear?
A great question. And I worked with a client earlier today who was coming in to work on fear, and her fear was around a part of herself that was like afraid to have her authentic self seen, because she's in transition with, and I know you asked me about me, and I'm going to get back to me,
It's
but I'm
all good.
starting with
It's all
this
good.
because it relates.
Yeah.
Um, uh, she's changing careers from doing something very different. I won't say what it was, but different from what she's being called into now as a light worker, as a healer. And everybody who's known her in her other role, it's like, she's got this fear about showing up on social media and speaking her truth, speaking about what she is here to do. And I was like, you know what? I feel like this session is very much for me, just as much as it is for you, because I still have that fear around um, talking openly and freely. I've gotten much more comfortable with it, but there's still a little part of me. And for both of us, and I think, we were talking, Karen, before we even started recording, about where does fear even come from? Like, what is
Mhm.
it rooted in? And it goes back. It goes back to that feeling of not being safe in a certain point or points in this lifetime, and perhaps um, past lifetimes that can get, stuck in our subconscious. And so how do we release that fear? How do we release that fear I can, if I really sit and be with fear, where does it come from? I can remember many incidences in my life where I did feel unsafe and I was scared and I was in protective mode and I didn't want to be seen because I was afraid if I opened my mouth or did something, I was going to get punished for it or reprimanded, or physically hurt even. And so, um, those fears, they're not easily released, and they can pop up and show up in different ways. But I really believe that it's when we connect with that inner part of us that did not feel safe at one or more times in our lives, that's when we can start to energetically release the fears that are keeping us from fully stepping into um, our our more authentic selves and our bigger selves, like
Mm.
to complete the missions that we are here to complete. What about you?
Wow. So yeah, and listening to your beautiful talking about that, I often speak about when we have these conversations of just being fearful of being on my spiritual journey, right? That I always kind of like, that's me. I was afraid of everything. And I think that beautiful correlation over into past lifetimes. And I think that sometimes, or very early childhood, like the things we can't tangibly remember. Um, and we kind of get on these journeys. And I know I've done a lot of work on my journey to remember, like remember. And I'm having more memories of my early childhood and remembering and doing work, right? Doing the spiritual work for me, journeying and Akashic records and working with energy healers who are channeling for me and being in the experience with them and bringing up these lifetimes. And I've sourced a lot of fear from there, right? I've sourced a lot. And what does that mean? who am I? Why would that come up? Am I the only person that's ever experienced this? And my favorite funny story, it's not funny, but I was born in Salem, Massachusetts, right? There is you can't get any closer. I went to Edinburgh, which is the capital of the British Empire for the witch hunts, things I learned, right? And like, why do I have such a deep-based fear of what that means, right? What part of me is still attached to something that may have happened in the past lives in Scotland, who knows? And I have found that um, there's these things that come up as a collective. Like I always hear about like this, like the witch wound, right? Like, and when I first heard that, I was like, I'm in fear of that. Like, don't talk about that. But it's really just about, where was I held down in my life? Where were my skills and my tools and my wisdom taken from me, till I had to be in fear of them? I'm kind of going off a little bit there, but a lot of fear. Should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Talk about fear going on YouTube and speaking light language, right, Diane? Huge, right? And then outer world, right? We have all this, we have news. Oh my God, the news, right? Can I detach myself from the news? I actually had somebody say to me, like, aren't you afraid not to know what's going on? And I was like, I am so free by not knowing what's
So
going on. I
free,
know what's going on,
so
but
free.
I don't immerse myself in it
Yeah.
and anymore. Right. So there's learning, right? There's learning, there's
Mhm.
evolution, there's up leveling, and I am safe. Look at that. I am safe. And what's coming in for me? We were talking a little bit about the Nautilus shell,
Mhm.
and somebody often described early on to me that if you kind of picture life as a spiral staircase, which is very similar to the Nautilus shell, and and every time something happens in your life, you kind of look over the railing at it. And
Mm.
when you're at the lower end, the tighter end of the spiral, it's like you're really close to it. Oh, my heart goes again. You're very close to it. And then you go through cycles and you're like, all right, I've already experienced this and I'm safe and I can do this now. You're a little bit higher on the staircase. Okay, something now has come up again, and you kind of look over at it, and it's like, I'm not as in fear anymore, right? I can look at that from a higher point of view. I'm safe to explore this. And I would actually even love to take the subject of being in fear and evolving it to being safe, right? What does it take to feel safe?
Mhm.
Because that's a huge transition. Those are two totally different things. What can you think
Yeah.
of? Yeah, like just be like, when am I safe? Am I safe in my relationships? Am I safe to, oh, where was it? Can I have it back, please? Am I safe to evolve and grow in my relationships? Am I safe to do that and still be held in my relationships, right? Now I
Mhm.
have other people around me, and am I feeling safe? And I don't mean in a safety of being hurt. I mean like to evolve. Am I safe? That's come up. That's come up a lot. Um, am I safe to let my children explore their adult lives? Ooh, that's a big one for me. We send them, nothing is fears based is sending them off to college far away. Um, but again, I go through it more and more. I look up, that spiral staircase comes in for me, and everything's okay. Everything, oh, I can handle and manage what all those fearful things were from a better place now because I'm not in it as much. That comes up for me.
Yeah, those are,
Yeah.
there is so much, and I love the analogy of the Nautilus, the spiral, and that's the ascension, right? That's the ascension energies, are the spiraling upwards as we are able to kind of, release, not kind of, but as we do release those denser lower energies of fear, um, and worry and, you know, and all that. But we're talking about fear
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And there was absolutely a time in my life when I had a lot of fear around my spirituality and, growing up in a Christian based church and going to a Christian based church in my adult years, and then just feeling pulled away from it because I felt like there's more. There's more. This is beautiful, but there's more. And I was just so drawn to the more, but being afraid to really talk about what that was and feeling judged for, oh, you didn't go to church today? Where were you? Like,
Or being
and
punished
this
for
is
it.
in my mind, right?
Yeah,
This is
right.
mostly in my mind. I don't know how many people maybe were judging me, but I was feeling that judgment, whether it was there or not. But for me, it was like, you know what? No, I went on a hike and I felt more closer to God than I've ever felt in sitting in the building of a church. Um, and so, yeah, there was definitely fear around that awakening to something more, something bigger. I think religion can be a beautiful uh, connection with spirituality, but it's not the end all. And when I encourage any of you who are listening who are feeling fear around any religion, religious constructs, to really sit with that and ask yourself, what is it about this that I'm getting the fear? Is it from coming from other people? Is it coming from laws or dogma? Is it coming from generational stuff where I'm supposed to be doing this, but it's not sitting right with me? Really start to feel into that, because the more that I listened to and followed my heart, what my heart was telling me, where my heart was pulling me, beautiful things started opening and awakening. And yes, having fear, like you said, Karen, around relationships,
Mm.
not being able to fully express yourself and what you're going through and feeling on the spiritual journey and on the healing journey, because not
Oh,
everybody is on the healing journey, right? And I can definitely relate to that too. And it can feel, we've talked about this before, it can feel very isolating when you're living with people and some of the people that are, closest to you, but not on really the same journey as you are, or the same path that you are. It can There can definitely be fear projected from others onto you, but we also can feel that too. But again, really just when you feel it, to acknowledge it, almost like it's a visitor at your door. Somebody's knocking on your door and it's fear on the other side. And are you going to choose to open that door and invite him in? Or are you going to say, you know what? I'm good right now. Like,
not yet.
yeah, you can go to the house next door, but
Yeah.
I'm, I'm busy right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's like, is there an antidote? I'm kind of laughing. Like, is there an antidote for fear, right? And sometimes you just need to move through it, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
you just need to allow yourself to teeter a little bit on the edge and really experience that. Spirit has worked with me on that extensively. I'll just share a little, like, what that looks like when I say, like, make this like statement, like, Spirit works with me, and I'm often shown that I'm brought to the edge of a cliff, and I'm encouraged is a soft word. I am encouraged to jump. Now, I'm not jumping off real cliffs, right? But to experience that, like, you are safe to the next leap in your life. You are safe. We have you.
Yeah.
We have you, and you can do a, and then I'm encouraged to make a running start, right? And go off the cliff. And again, it sounds silly, but when I was experiencing that, that was fear based for me. Like, why am I being encouraged to jump off a cliff? Why, what am I not doing in my life? Where am I not jumping? Where am I not trusting that the things that I am so fearful of, I am held and beautifully cared for, and that this is all part of my evolution. Um, yeah. And I guess I would just end on, for anybody who's thinking, like, how do I deal with fear? And the most beautiful expression I can share on that is, it is impossible to be in fear and in with love at the same time. They're almost like magnets, right? They don't, you're either in fear or you're in love. And I will always choose my heart and to express love and to feel love, and helping me to stay out of fear.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And love is greater than fear. Love is greater than fear. And when we can connect with that, the love that we all have within us, and sometimes it may feel like it's far away, but it is there. And as Karen beautifully said, feel the feelings of it. Don't be afraid of the feelings of fear, because that is the true path to freedom, as when we can meet those uncomfortable feelings head on, really experience them in your body and meet them right there and breathe through it. It's just energy. It's energy, and you can move that energy out of your body. But sometimes we need support. Sometimes we need help from somebody else who's gone before us and done the work, and somebody who's experienced. And this isn't, a marketing plug, but Karen and I do work with people all the time, who are experiencing uncomfortable emotions, or they're feeling stuck. You can work with us individually or together, and there's links in our description as far as how to get in touch with us. We are here for you, and we would love to hear in the comments how you're experiencing fear, if you're experiencing fear, and also if there's any other topics that you would like for us to touch on. We would love to know those. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, Soul Light Collective, we would love to have you join us here. And we put out weekly light language healing and awakening transmissions for the collective, as well as offer tips and tools on the spiritual healing and awakening journey. Right.
Mouthful.
But yeah, so thank you all for listening, tuning in. We love you all so much, and we will see you in the next one. Everybody take care.